We discuss our test results from the 2020 Nissan Sentra, talk about how we're continuing to test while staying safe at our track, and answer your questions, including, is it possible to install Apple CarPlay on an older vehicle? Next on Talking Cars. Hey, welcome back. I'm Keith Barry.
I'm Ryan Pilwakowski.
And I'm Jake Fisher.
And we are once again coming to you from remotely, but that doesn't mean that things aren't slowly happening at our test track in Connecticut. As the country is trying to figure out how people can get to work and what can be done safely and what can be done with some distance. We are figuring that out for ourselves, right? Jake, you've been at the track recently, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep on keeping on, and we are here to test cars. And obviously, there's a lot of restrictions in place, and even beyond the restrictions, I mean, the number one priority for all of us is to keep everyone safe. But there's quite a lot that we still can do. So because we are car testers, and a lot of these evaluations we actually do on normal roads, whether or not it's ride or handling, even things like controls, a lot of the work that we do, we don't actually have to be at the facility. So what we very quickly did was worked out a really good, robust procedure to swap the vehicles. Actually, I've been in contact with some people from car manufacturers who are going through the same kind of thing. When you're doing development of cars, you have to be able to swap these vehicles, but not transmit anything. So we're cleaning the vehicles thoroughly. Between that, we're actually letting the cars sit. And then we get someone else into the car, and we could get a lot of work done. I know, Ryan, you've gone through this yourself, right?
Yeah. I actually just the end of last week I swapped a car. So I go to the track with the vehicle I'm in, and when I get there I have to clean it. We have all the cleaning supplies. We have a little station set up inside the main shop, and clean all the surfaces that you would touch. The door handles, the window switches, the start buttons, the stalks, everything, like the steering. Literally everything that you might touch. Get in the next car. But that car that I'm getting into has been cleaned and has been sitting there for 24 hours with nobody in it. And they're outside, so hopefully, it's been sunny recently at least, and the sun kind of helped, they say, that kill some of the virus. And off I go in the next car. And then I get home and I do my one-day trips. I do the stuff that I can do, the seat comfort stuff, access, all the testing I would do at work, and the stuff I would do on the roads anyway. So it's really different, but it's no different in terms of the testing itself. Unfortunately, we're living in a different time.
and we're in this current test group that we have, we're kind of going into the next phase of it. So right now, we're in Connecticut, and they're starting to open, and some people are actually getting into offices. We have so many procedures that we maintain in our car tests. We're writing new procedures on how to do these. Again, have the same, quality and make sure that we get the same test, but, we may not be swapping the cars as quickly. We may have, we're going to get into doing stuff like emergency handling. So we'll have, Ryan, you'll get into the car and do everything and then swap it to the next person, right?
Right. It'll be the next driver will drive the next day. But it's different, but it's the quality of work isn't different. It's just going to be the same. It's going to take a little longer.
And we've used our own reporting that we've done in order to help develop these protocols, So we have our health team. We have people who have been talking with, scientists who are working on this. And the manufacturers themselves have come out publicly with protocols about how to keep cars clean and what should be done when a car comes in for service. They've been telling their dealers what to do so those employees who are, vital employees, and so they don't get sick. So there's some research that's starting to build around swapping cars and being able to stay safe.
Yeah, it's really interesting how it kind of, we every morning we all get together and we kind of have our scrum and we talk these things through. And it's so funny how we're asking the same questions that consumers are asking us. So it's, we have to buy cars. How do we do that safe? So we write the article, how to buy a car and stay safe. We need to swap these cars and clean them and not damage them. So we write the article. So it's kind of a twofer, in a way.
Yeah, if you want to find out more about what we're doing, like literally just go to cr.org and look at our how-to articles, because that's not, we're practicing what we preach. It's we're just saying what we do when we call, and we're not buying cars from places that require you to come in. Someone asked for a quote from a local dealer, and they said, "Why don't you come on down and we'll talk?" And that's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. You can't do that anymore. So, sorry, they lost the deal, and we bought a car from another dealership. But that's the advice that we're giving, is what we're learning ourselves. And Jake, it's been a while since I've personally been down at the track, but we're using this time to get some much needed maintenance and projects done, right? The sort of downtime where we're not actually driving on the track.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's kind of an advantage of getting us all out of there. And we actually did a small paving project. We go and I like to say that our test track is probably some of the best roads in the country, because we have to make them so they're consistent all year long and they don't degrade. So we're repaving, even though they look really good. We just want to make sure the coefficient of friction and all that stuff is the same. So so we actually repaved a section of our track. I saw it yesterday. It looks gorgeous. I'm getting, looking forward to actually driving on it. But right now it's curing, and the timing just works out great. Across the country, I think you'll see some of that too. People are paving roads because the traffic is down. So it just makes sense.
Yeah. Accelerated projects on everything. Yeah. So before some of those projects began at our track, we finished testing the 2020 Nissan Sentra. It's an interesting vehicle. We got the SV trim line of this sort of new car from Nissan. It's reinvented after a couple of years of the Sentra just kind of existing in the lineup between the Altima and the Versa, and it just sort of being there. Mostly, I saw a lot of them at rental fleets. The one that we have now, it's SV trim line, 149 horsepower, a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with a CVT and front-wheel drive. It's the only choice. Ours didn't come with any major options. It was about $21,400, which is pretty affordable for a small car these days. And it starts around 19, but some versions of this car can be quite nice. And we're going to talk about that. But what do we think of the Sentra? Ryan, you spent some time with it, right?
Yeah. So we completed testing it, and I'll be honest, when I saw we were getting a Sentra, we have a board that shows the cars that are like incoming from the dealers, and I saw the Sentra on there, and I wasn't that excited. I mean, the Sentra's been like this car that was not that special for a long time. Unfortunately, this car came in, and I will say it. I think it surprised. I think it even shocked most people at the track. It's a grown-up Sentra. The Maxima used to be the big fancy one, and then the Altima kind of grew up into that place a little bit. The Sentra has kind of grown now into like the Altima spot. Like, this is a really nice car. It rides nice. The powertrain was fantastic. It's got a CVT in it, but it kind of mimics shifts. But it's smooth. The steering's really is great. Even the interior was very nice in our SV trim. And it's got a lot of safety features. It's a really nice car. I just wasn't expecting it, I guess.
It's like the old SER from back in the day, when the Sentra was actually something.
Well, that was the last Sentra that I remember being like, this is cool, unfortunately, but this is awesome.
So Nissan's been really interesting lately, just because, you never really know what you're going to get. It's like, Nissan's a box of chocolates, you don't never know what you're going to get. The thing about it is that, you mentioned like the SER way back. I remember in the 90s, there was that SER that was like all sporty. And then they almost become like the rental car company, not too long ago. And I completely agree with Ryan. I didn't have high expectations, but I was kind of blown away. This was actually a fun kind of grown up small sedan. Really interesting that Nissan's actually putting some thought and energy into this market where everyone else is kind of going away from, just concentrating on small SUVs, but they're actually doing something here. So, I mean, if you've kind of written off Nissans lately, I mean, this is a great opportunity to go and, give them another try. And also, thinking about it in terms of equipment, some of the high trim models of this car, I mean, they just have like a gorgeous interior. I mean, if you get like the platinum and get all these different like trim lines, I mean, it looks like you're in a luxury car. I mean, for them to put
this quilted leather, it's amazing.
It's absolutely amazing that they're actually doing that. So I mean, there's really no reason not to, but it's definitely, give it another look.
Even the model that we rented had that sort of two-tone paint with the orange, and it looked really, really, really cool. The one that we rented from Nissan. The thing that's interesting to me is that Nissan has said that they're going to double down on the sedan segment, and they publicly said this. Where everyone else is kind of going away, Nissan has said, you know what, sedans are going to be the new counterculture, because when everyone has a crossover, who's the cool one? It's the guy in the sedan. So I'm very much on board with this. But of course, the new Rogue is going to be coming out relatively soon, and Nissan said that's on track, and it's going to sell like crazy. But it is really cool that they're putting this much effort into not just a sedan, but an affordable one too. That something can be nice, but not necessarily expensive. You were saying. Yeah,
I would just, it's always something to remember, I mean, while everything is SUV, if you do choose a sedan, you will get more for your money. I mean, you don't get the all-wheel drive option necessarily. You don't get the fender flares, but you wind up having a lot more value. You get a more grown-up car, you get better fuel economy, you get something that's quicker and handles better. It is definitely a smart choice for a lot of people.
I mean, who would have thought the Sentra a grown-up car? I mean, the Sentra was it's not grown up, but it's an adult now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ah, man. So if you want to learn more about how it did in our tests, just head over to cr.org and you'll see all the numbers and our full take on it. So I think it's time for some questions. You've seen enough of us in our houses, and we have a bunch of video questions today, and it's you and your houses because you've sent your video questions to talkingcars@icloud.com. So thank you very much. Our first question is from Tom in Seattle.
Hi, Talking Cars. Love the show. Keep it up. I had one question in regards to the Jeep Grand Cherokee. I noticed now it is recommended by CR. And from my perspective, this is great news. That is a beautiful vehicle, and I've always shied away from it given some of the reliability. Could you share with us what changed as to why it's now recommended? Thank you. Bye.
So yeah, the Grand Cherokee, it's an awesome SUV, but it's always had this sort of miasma of unreliability following it around. Jake, what happened? What happened? Did FCA finally figure it out after 9 years?
Yeah. So I mean. So the Grand Cherokee really had its last major redesign in 2011. And like we always talk about in terms of reliability, when they redesign it, there's more problems. And sometimes it takes a couple of years to work out the bugs. In terms of the Grand Cherokee, it took several years to work out the bugs. And in fact, the 2016 and up models definitely are more reliable. Still, if you look at those older models, they still have reliability problems kind of across the board, a lot of different issues. So, it's funny, when we talk about the Grand Cherokee or other Chryslers, like the Chrysler 300 or the Dodge Charger. A lot of people are like, oh, you guys don't like those cars. I'm like, no, we like those cars a lot.
We really do.
We really like those cars. The reliability is what really brings down the score of these cars. And all of those vehicles, again, with enough practice working out the bugs, we're happily recommending these models right now because they have improved the reliability. So including the Grand Cherokee, which incidentally is kind of the underpinning is very much like a Mercedes-Benz, because it goes that far back when it was Chrysler, Mercedes-Benz. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a very well appointed, very solid feeling vehicle. I wouldn't hesitate. So Tom, you should if you want one, go out and buy one.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Our next question is from Noni in Anaheim Hills.
Hi, Talking Cars. I'm interested in getting a used manual stick shift car around $5,000. It's been 20, 30 years since I used to own one, an old 92 Tercel, and I thought it'd be fun to have one again. This is not a daily driver. It would just be an extra car. And if you could recommend one that's easy to get into again, for around a $5,000 budget. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
So that's interesting. Used, obviously, stick shift, $5,000 and an extra car. Ryan, what do you think?
So I guess nowadays you can't get too much with $5,000, but I don't know how sporty he wanted to go, but I did a little just like cars.com, car gurus kind of a search just to see what's out there across the country. And something came up and it reminded me of the good old days, an Acura RSX.
Ooh.
5-speed manual, fun little car. We actually used one for tire testing years ago, and I absolutely love that car. It's a simple car, so it's there's not a lot going on in it, so it's pretty reliable. It's a smaller car. It's fun, and it's still a manual, though. Those don't exist anymore. It seems like.
So I went on to the Consumer Reports used car marketplace. Shameless plug. But so I mean, it was funny because I mean, as soon as I heard 5-speed and fun, you got to think about. And Ryan, you're right. I mean, the stick shift on that RSX was phenomenal. So if you're interested in stick, I mean, it's always fun shifting, but I mean, some are better than others. I always go Mazda. So my first thought was Mazda 3, but you're not talking about your primary daily driver. So, I mean, this just calls into, Miata is always the answer. Miata is where it's at. And I would actually start looking at NBs. So NB is the second generation of Miata, which was like 99 to 2005. And the reason I say that is because the first generation, the older ones in the 90s, they're actually going up in value. So they're almost like a classic car. You could actually get the NB, that early 2000s, right around that $5,000. The shifter is just phenomenal. And if you're
probably the best,
you're probably the best in the business. And if it's not the daily driver, then 2 seats, top down. You're in Southern California. Enjoy.
Yeah, I was going to stick with Mazda as well. I was thinking the Mazda 3. The only reason why is that you want to be able to enjoy it with the whole family, with friends. You don't want to have to pick. I assume that maybe he has more friends than I do, so he has 3 or 4, and they all want to go with him on a trip somewhere. Maybe a family, and that's why the Mazda 3 is a good choice, because it kind of blends a little bit of practicality, but it still has that same buttery smooth shifter like the Miata does, and I mean, it still is it's a great car, but I don't know, Jake. I think you're right.
Yes,
I think you're right. The top down Southern California.
If it wasn't Southern California, I would go Mazda 3. But
yeah, exactly.
We're all a little jealous, I think.
Yeah,
totally. Especially cooped up in the house, it's nice to think about going out with a convertible. Next question from another warm climate. Paul in Atlanta has a question about his Subaru.
Hello, I'm the owner of a 2018 Subaru Forester, and I've been happy with the car with one major exception, and that is the proprietary navigation system. So I'm thinking about going to a third party. Is it possible to change the entertainment screen to accommodate an Apple CarPlay?
Now, this is something a lot of our most reliable used cars have, these awful infotainment systems, or just ones that don't have the latest features. And that's not a reason to go out and buy a brand new car. Now, Jake, you did something like this recently, right? You have some personal experience around fixing, upgrading a vehicle?
Something like that. So it's kind of interesting because when we talk about CarPlay a lot here, and we definitely think it's terrific. And
Android Auto as well.
And Android Auto as well. Yep. But I'm going to go say something maybe a little controversial. Do not do it. You don't need it. I mean, it's nice, but don't, and I'll tell you why. So actually, we just went through this, and my wife bought a 2019 Prius. As soon as I got all-wheel drive, we went out and got that. The 19 Prius does not have CarPlay. So we started kind of looking into it. And look, with most cars, you can do this. It's just not pretty. I mean, you're ripping apart the car. To be honest with you, a lot of the aftermarket is not going to be as robust in terms of like the OEM stuff. So the stuff that's gone through all the testing in the car. So we looked at it. There were options, but here's the trick. Just get a cell phone mount. We did some cell phone mount tests. We evaluated some. My wife has a cell phone mount. She's got a 6.5 inch screen on her iPhone, which incidentally is actually the same size as the base screen on the Forester, but you actually have an advantage when you do the cell phone mount and you're using navigation. I'll tell you why. One, it's vertical, which actually works much better for navigation. You see further ahead. Two, you still retain the radio. So now you've got two screens. You've got your navigation and you've got your radio, and you could work with both of those. Three, you've got wireless charging, so you're not plugging in every time. And four, you do have your voice controls. So I'm not saying, use the phone and touch it and do all these things. What your car has in most cars for the last several years is like something like Series Ice Free, where you don't necessarily need CarPlay, which means basically that little voice button on your steering wheel, hold that down. Now you're talking to your phone. Now you could program your
don't just press
system.
it once, hold it.
Right. It's like this hidden feature that almost, so many cars have and probably a lot of people don't use. So now you could set your navigation and do that. So that is my advice. Don't rip apart your car. Go that way. That's what we did.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, if you are going to go the route of ripping it apart, I mean, some really, really specialty shops can find ways to do it. But I mean, it would be things like remapping the steering wheel controls, because those steering wheel controls are meant to work with your, and it gets to a level that it's not like back in the day where you could take out the radio and put in, is it a DIN or a double DIN, and that's it. It is so integrated in the car now.
And sometimes you lose some features. You actually lose some of those built-in features that you had. We were looking at on the Prius, and there was definitely an aftermarket option. You lost the touch screen. I mean, just like it's just.
Yeah. And that's how you control in the Prius. That's how you control so many things. And the same with the Forester.
It's never the same. And then if it's a pretty new car, you might be screwing around with warranty stuff too. So it's like. I would
be worried about your resale value. I mean, this is the thing. I mean,
absolutely. Look,
I've modified many cars in my time, but the thing about modifying them is you definitely, for the most part, you hurt the resale value when you modify it. I mean, we were talking about the Miata before. Get a Miata that hasn't been touched. You want them stock. Those are actually worth more in the used car market. The ones that haven't.
You're not buying someone else's project,
right? You don't want one that's been improved.
Now, this is a question. This is an answer specifically for Paul, but there are some vehicles out there that had just kind of a module you could plug in. This is not one of them. I know Mazda, talking about Mazda again, had the ability to just, and some other manufacturers had this as well, where you could just sort of plug something in and the car would get upgraded to the new features.
And that's a factory thing. So like if you have Mazda or Toyota, they do some of these things. If you could get it done at the dealership and it's something official, go for it. Don't get us wrong, but
Subaru doesn't offer that on this vehicle. Yeah. So, well, good luck. Good luck. Hold down that button a little bit longer, and you'll find a hidden feature in your car, maybe, as long as your phone's plugged in. Next question also involves a Forester and a Prius, and it's from Asheville, North Carolina.
Hey, what's up, Talking Cars? I was calling to get your opinion on downsizing our family fleet. We have a 2014 Forester, a 2008 Prius, and a 1976 BMW 2002. So we love the Prius's functionality, the gas mileage, and the all-wheel drive on the Forester up here in the mountains. But they're both pretty boring to drive, honestly. And luckily I walk to work, so I don't need a car every day. My wife has about a 30-mile commute. We like exploring on the weekends in the mountains, and we drive to visit family about 4 hours away pretty frequently. So what should we buy?
What a garage. You got your fuel saver Prius, you've got your practical Forester, and you've got your 1976 BMW 2002. That is a very cool garage. So props to you folks for having it. But you want to downsize. Ryan, what do you think?
Well, do not get rid of that 2002, please. That's a beautiful car. So, the Foresters, like you said, the Forester is a practical all-wheel drive for the mountains. The Prius is, the fuel saver. If you're going to downsize, it's hard to do the two and get something that's more fun to drive. He complains that they're not fun to drive. He doesn't say anything about a budget, so I kind of went off a little there, maybe. But I would say like an X3, BMW X3, or a Audi Q5. You have the practicality, but those are fun cars to drive, and on a long trip, they're comfortable. They have really nice seats in them, so I would say one of those.
I like where Ryan's going on that, and I completely agree. Getting rid of the 2002 is out of the question. That is just not an option. You need to keep that car. Yeah, I mean, X3 is definitely an interesting choice. I think what I'm kind of keyed into is, not the like of boring cars. I mean, the Forester and the Prius are great cars, but not a lot of excitement there. And if you're looking for something that's, kind of a daily driver and something reliable, I would go CX-5, Mazda CX-5. I think you could replace both of those, because I think the CX-5 is going to wind up with better fuel economy than your older Forester. Certainly not Prius, but I mean, now you're combining the two, and it is fun to drive. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that and just say that, especially if you're driving in the mountains, that I've driven a 2014 Forester on hills and mountains, and you're going to want that little bit of extra power that the new CX-5, not the first year of the CX-5 that we felt a little underpowered, but if you're buying a newer one, that's going to give you. So yeah, but yeah, hold on to the 2002, please. There's your fun car. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So the last question, not a video question, but we wanted to cover it. Pedro from South Florida asks, I drive a small car and always wanted to get summer tires, but until recently, they seem to always be expensive and primarily for high performance. But recently, I have seen less expensive models online. What are the advantages, if any, for a summer tire on an economy car like mine? Ryan, our tire pro here. What do you say?
So this is an interesting question, because summer tires in the U.S. are ultra high performance tires. So they're designed for ultimate grip on dry and wet roads. Down in Florida, he doesn't have to worry about snow. He doesn't need an all season tire per se, or a winter tire, right? But he's putting on what he's calling an economy car. I don't know what that is exactly, but do you need that performance, right? The car is designed a certain way. It comes with tires from the factory to match those abilities, right? The summer tires these ultra high performance tires are going to have more grip for sure, a lot more than the stock tires, right? But do you need that in everyday driving, or are you maybe he does want that more exhilarating experience, or he might even be autocrossing it, which is like the amateur racing around cones, time trial stuff. I used to do a lot of that myself. I know Jake did stuff like that. That makes sense. But there's some trade-off with summer tires. Other than that, actually, they are a little bit worse on fuel. Their rolling resistance a little higher, which makes them less fuel efficient. It's basically how easily they roll down the road. And typically, a summer tire is a little wider, and they don't roll as easily. At least we found in our tests. But we're talking maybe 1 to 2 miles per gallon difference, and they don't last as long. They just wear out faster because the compound's softer, and naturally they just wear out faster. Other than that, I mean, in all season tires, you can get a performance all season tire that kind of has some. If you took a look at our ratings, you could find some performance all season tires that have a little more of that summery grip, maybe less of the winter stuff. You can kind of pick through the ratings and find something that suits you better. But I mean, you could do it. It's just there's some trade-offs you have to kind of look into.
I never thought I would say this, Ryan, but you're getting old. Performance tires, and wheels often people do too. Is kind of like the low-cost performance increaser for a lot of people in cars. And absolutely. I mean, we've done some tests where we could get. Remember a while ago we actually had a Camry and we put some performance tires on it and it stopped better than a lot of sports cars. So I mean,
wait. Let's go back to the previous question, Taylor. Put some performance tires on the Prius and the Forester. There, it's more fun to drive, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, it does a lot of things. I mean, it can also increase, your steering feel and a lot of other things.
Absolutely.
I mean, look, I mean, and you're right. I don't know how, many miles an hour you're going around corners and whatnot, but it is definitely a low cost option. And, I mean, both of us had done some kind of, odd crossing and track events. And it's really interesting that you can actually have an economy small car. I mean, you see it with, Civics all the time. With performance tires, you could actually have them handle as well as some very high priced sports cars. Often they, people lower them and modify them otherwise, but it is definitely an improvement in terms of performance. I actually, back in another life, I actually worked in Europe for a while as a development engineer. And what was interesting there at the time, nobody had all seasons. Like they just did not do all seasons. It was summer tires or winter tires. So all seasons, they are a bit of a compromise. So, I mean, look into it and maybe consider it.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of glad you brought up the Europe reference, because in Europe, they have summer tires and winter tires. They don't have the in between, all seasons like we do here in the U.S. Maybe we're just lazy, or we don't like swapping back and forth. But for people here, though, sometimes they see the word summer tire and they think, well, I live in Florida and it's only summer here. That's the best tire for me. That's not necessarily the case, because the summer tire is actually like I said before, a high performance tire, and down in Florida, there's all season tires that would be probably even better in some cases if you're not worried about that ultimate grip. So, good question.
Yeah, good answers too. Yeah. And for any tires that you're looking at, I noticed that he said, different less expensive models online. If it's a brand that he's concerned about, he can head to cr.org and check out our tire ratings, and we'll probably have them rated on there.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Head over to cr.org. You'll learn about the car we talked about, how to keep your car clean, how we're keeping our cars clean, how to stay safe. Send your questions to us, or video questions to talkingcars@icloud.com, and we'll talk cars again soon.